Hey y'all. Okay, here's the deal. This eyeshadow palette just came in the mail recently from Zeesea. They sent it to me for a review, and I tried it out on camera pretty recently. I posted a video pretty recently in which I was trying new makeup and I applied this palette to my eyes. If you saw that video, then you will recall that I was gooped and gagged and blown away by this innocuous looking shade in the bottom right-hand corner. It has this amazing bronzy shine. I love the tones and the undertones and the reflect and the finish and absolutely everything about it. So I put this all over my eyes and then I topped the look with this really reflective, flaky, creamy gold. And I loved the look that I got from this palette in that video. But you know me, I like to give away the things that I get in PR. I don't like to keep too much. I might end up keeping this palette. I don't just like these two shades, I like the other ones too. But I've been wondering, it's been nagging at me ever since I filmed that video. I've been wondering if I have a dupe, like a straight up dupe for this shade anywhere else in my eyeshadow collection. It seems like I would. You know what I mean? Like it's just a brownish bronze. It seems like I would have a shade this color. And so I'm going to go through, I was just about to sit down and go through my entire collection of eyeshadow palettes and single eyeshadows and see if I could find a dupe for this. And then I decided to just film that because whether or not I have a dupe for this or something really close, that's going to inform my decision when it comes time to decide whether or not I want to keep this palette. So that's what I'm going to do for this video. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Hannah. I love beautiful things and I really like makeup. I really like eyeshadow. It's fun to review stuff that comes to me for free. But as I said, I don't like to keep everything that comes to me for free. I like to keep an edited collection. So when I really like something like this, when I'm tempted to keep something that was sent to me or to buy something that's new to the market, I'm always asking myself, do you really need this? Is this really going to add value to your experience and to your collection of beautiful things? Or is it just going to be more of the same? So if introspective makeup content like that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Okay, let's get ourselves a good juicy swatch of the shadow in question. And I'm going to put it on this hand so that when I'm going through and swatching on this hand, I can like compare. What is it that I like so much about this? I think it's partly how neutral it is. Bronzes tend to be warm leaning. They tend to be kind of coppery, and this is just, it's almost taupe in terms of how neutral it is. It's a really neutral brown, but then it's got this gold reflect. And I think I also like the fact that the shimmers are so finely milled that it has that like almost satin wet look shine rather than some kind of like textured wet look shine. All right, there's definitely not something in Jungle Lights that would be a dupe. And I'm really looking for a dupe right now. Like I'm not just looking to dupe the vibes, although I might do that along the way. I'm looking for something that really looks like this, and there's nothing in here. This is a pretty neutral brown, or I think of this as a pretty neutral brown. I'll go ahead and swatch it just so you can see the difference. I think of that Persona shade as being a pretty neutral brown, but it's really on the warm side. It's like a redwood. You know, it's got like a redwood color. Practically, it can be useful for the same kinds of things, but it's not a dupe. There's nothing in the Flower Punk palette that can work. I don't think that there's anything in Alva 2 that could work. And there's nothing in Club Nebula that can work. Sci-Fi Green, no. Ah, the Lila palette. Okay, so this is maybe one of the best bets. It's the shade Layla from the Lila palette. Wow, this is really showing me that Layla is actually a purple. It's like a smoky purple. I feel like I could definitely dupe the vibes of a look that I would get with this palette using Layla. I could put this shadow down all over my lids, smoke it out, and then put like a sheer, very finely milled, glittery shadow on top of it. But in and of itself, it's not a dupe. Let's look at this bronze in the gold palette. This is basically my most reliable, very neutral bronze. It's such a creamy shade. The shade's called Varus. And yeah, it's nothing close. It's a much lighter bronze. It doesn't have that kind of smoky, almost cool toned undertone. There is a bronze here in the Sunrise palette, Day Spring, but it's really, really copper. You know what I mean? There's not a chance that it's going to come close. Here's the palette that I built myself. The missing shades from the gold palette and the lila palette are all in here. This is Tinker Time, which is a discontinued colourpop shade. I think it's the only thing that is worth considering. It's like the only thing that's worth swatching. But yeah, it's a much more taupe. It has that micro shimmer in it, but it's just much more taupe, you know. It's not the same thing. These are all of my square singles. This immediately stands out to me, although I think that this is kind of a green. Yeah, this is an olive green. Not the same. I don't think any of these are. Okay, there are a couple of shades here that I've sort of been thinking might be the closest. This is 24/7 from the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, the Jaclyn Hill palette that she did with Morphe. And this is one of my all-time favorite shades. I think it's got more of a red undertone though. Yeah, way more red. Wow, look how incredibly ruddy that is compared to the one I'm trying to dupe. And then this is Makeup Geek Steampunk. It actually looks more ruddy in the pan, but I think that it swatches a lot darker than it looks in the pan. Yeah, look at that. But it definitely has some kind of red or even purple reflect. So yeah, it's not the same, but what a cool shadow that is. It's almost got like a little bit of red iridescence to it. This is where we're at right now. I feel like so far, Layla from the Lila palette is the closest. It just doesn't have that shine and it's a little purple. Y'all, those were all of my eyeshadows and my entire collection of singles. We totally struck out, but I feel like there might be a chance among these babies here that we'll find something. Let's start with Naked Bronze, although I'm sure that it's going to be warmer. I'm curious to know which of these it's the most like. I feel like it's going to be the most like the Natasha Denona. So that's Tom Ford Naked Bronze. And actually I think it's the most like the Natasha Denona, but it's also quite a lot like this Jaclyn Hill shade. Put it a little over there. Someone was recently asking me for a dupe for this Jaclyn Hill shade, and I don't really know of anything. So there's 24/7 and there's Tom Ford Naked Bronze. Naked Bronze is a little lighter, has a little bit less of that ruddy tone, but they are pretty similar. Especially practically, you know, like in use, they're pretty similar. But Naked Bronze definitely isn't a dupe for this. This is much, much cooler. So looking at these Rowan quads here, I feel like this is the best bet. This is the cool toned Rowan quad. The shade is called Yep. And Yep, I do think that it's probably going to be the closest dupe that we've found. All right, so here on the left is Yep from the Rowan, what is it? 75, 32, 52 degrees cool quad. It is the closest. I also really love the texture. It's got the shine, which is really awesome. It's the closest we've come so far. I feel like it doesn't quite have the depth. This one goes a little bit deeper. The brown's a little darker, but it's the closest. Let's look at the other Rowan shades though. I kind of want to see it next to this. Hashtag is this really special shade in the 1111 quad that actually does have more. Yeah, it's like a little more purple, a little icier, but also really exciting. It's almost like mixing these two together will get me there. Although maybe they're not as, I can't tell if they're not as dark or if they're just shearing out because they're creams. But clearly you could get a similar eye look. Both of these are going to be warmer, but let's swatch them anyway. There's Nikki Dust. Oh no, it's the wrong finger. So there's Nikki Dust and there's J'adore. And actually, J'adore comes a little, all of these bronzes from Rowan are like vibing with this. You know what I mean? It's like any one of them, this is the closest I can come to duping the vibes. And any one of them I feel like would dupe the vibes to a degree more than all of these other shadows. I feel like it would especially dupe the vibes if I were to put down like this eyeshadow and then layer one of these Rowan shades on top of it. But I didn't find a dupe. I didn't find like an exact, especially not in the same formula, a powder shadow. I didn't find an exact dupe, which is interesting because, you know, you look at this and it's like, so what? You know, it doesn't seem like it's any great shakes, but it is to me because I feel like it has that perfect balance of everything. And you know me, I care a lot more about duping the vibes than about having an exact dupe. I feel, again, like I could make the eye looks that I would make with this shadow and with really any of these. Like any eye look that I made with this palette, I could make something really, really similar, like a good enough approximation for me out of my existing collection. I could use some of these and layer stuff over it and get something similar to this. I could use some of those really creamy golds from the gold palette instead of this and, you know, layer it over and I could get the look that I got the other day. It's definitely possible, especially because it's so much about kind of like softly textured, layered neutrals. And that is something that I have a lot of. Even though I don't have a perfect dupe for this and I've learned from using it how much I like it, I think that if I didn't own this or if I lost it, I wouldn't buy it. Like I'm not doing a thing where I'm like, I absolutely need to have this exact one and none of these will do and nothing else that I have will do. I have to own this and I would like spend my money to buy it so that I could have that. That's not really how I approach my makeup collection or how I approach eyeshadow these days. Again, I really think that close enough or close is often close enough, right? This, even though they're not the same, this close is always for me close enough to the thing that I'm envisioning or the thing that I'm lusting after. Given that I already own this, I think that now that I see that I don't have anything that really is exactly like this, I might end up keeping it. Like this video was basically an argument in favor of keeping this, continuing to use it. And it'll be fun to use some of the other shades, test the whole palette out and be able to give you guys like a more thorough review than I was able to give just from using it the one time. So I might end up doing that. I haven't totally decided yet. Mostly this was just fun because it's fun to dive into eyeshadow. It's fun to swatch, to pay attention. I really love paying attention to like these minute differences in color and texture, getting into it, and just feeling how glamorous and lovely everything that I already own already is. There's nothing like doing this kind of thing to take the edge off of the desire to buy new makeup. So I hope that you've enjoyed watching this, and I hope that some of my excitement about what I already own and my excitement about playing with makeup instead of buying makeup was able to translate through the screen to you. But you know, the most surefire way for it to translate is for you to go and play with what you already own and swatch what you already own, do something similar with your collection, especially if you're dealing with desire to buy stuff that you know that you don't want to actually buy for a variety of reasons. Like if you feel like you shouldn't be spending the money or you already have too much, whatever your reason is, doing this, playing, swatching, is the best medicine. So I hope that you enjoyed this. It was really fun for me and I appreciate you so much for being here. Don't forget to take extra good care of yourself today so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.